Hello friends, welcome to episode 115 of the Shauna Stitches Podcast. I'm Shauna and this is my crafty channel where I talk about all the things that I've been working on lately. Today is July the 27th, 2025 and it's currently about 10:45 a.m. I am coming to you from my craft room here on the Oregon coast where we are having just some ho-hum blah weather. It's been like 60 degrees, maybe 65, and overcast for the last several days with some rain. So I'm sure some of you would really like to have that, but I'm happy to send it to you. If you look right down below in the show notes, you can find links to everywhere that you will find me, as well as links to all the projects that I talk about. I do have Ravelry links where I share quite a few notes about the things that I make, and if you have any other questions, please leave them down below or send me a message on any of the areas there that I have linked below. I'm going to dive right into it and just start to say I don't have a ton to show you today. I've been very busy doing a lot of things that aren't necessarily knitting and I'm missing it, so I hope to get back to it real soon. But I do have a finished object. Maybe you noticed her sitting there in the corner. This is my emotional support chicken. I am naming her Henny Penny after one of my favorite childhood books. The yarn is all Handspun that I spun in Tour de Fleece in 2021. Let's see, I actually do have them here. The maroonish pink color is this one here. And this was my first and only time I have ever spun a singles yarn. Also, the only time I've really done a thicker yarn. The emotional support chicken pattern does call for worsted weight. I don't know if this is technically worsted weight, but it seemed to work. There are some thinner spots. You can just see it's quite thick and thin throughout. But it seemed to work because it's garter stitch and it was pretty forgiving. If you look real close, you can probably see some of the stuffing on the inside. But since Penny here is just going to be a decoration, she's not going to be getting played with by children or anything, I think it's okay. The other color is this one here. This was spun out of a bat, and it was my first and only time ever doing a core spin. And if you don't know anything about spinning, that won't mean a lot to you. But essentially, I took a mohair core, so an already commercial yarn, and I drafted and spun the bat around the mohair, and then to sort of even it out, I plied it again with the mohair. So that's the blue strand that you see there. And I think that worked out quite nice. You can see on the tail there where it has the different color. I don't know, it just, it screams chicken to me. And someone said this reminded them of a, gosh, I don't know my chicken breeds. It was some kind of red chicken, so I'm okay with that. I wasn't going for realistic, but that's okay. The little bit of yellow and the little bit of red are both leftovers that I had from some worsted weight wool of the Andes. And I did have some eyes. I think that might have been the hardest decision, was picking the eye color, because I had blue, green, this kind of orangey color, and I think I had another color, but I went with the orange or yellow. I just thought it went well with the beak color. So that is Henny Penny, and she's going to be keeping me company here on the podcast. It's probably going to be impossible to get her up there how I had her before. So yes, overall, I'm really happy with that finished object, but I will say the pattern leaves a lot to be desired. And after finishing her and leaving some comments like that on different social media posts, a lot of people told me there is a video, like a tutorial video that goes along with the chicken. I did not follow that. The chicken is seamed. I don't know if can you see that there's like a panel here, and then actually this whole front section, it's all knit flat and then seamed. And the pattern didn't really tell you when to seam, where to seam, how to seam. It didn't tell you when to put the eyes on. It was very vague. Not to mention that the other issue I had with the pattern, I ended up having to frog twice. And normally I am not a person who really has to frog, but you know, in a normal pattern you would have the rows in kind of like one column. Well, this had several rows, but written like paragraph form, so it was easy to get lost, and I did get lost a couple times. All that to say, I think it turned out okay. I used kind of a modified version of the mattress stitch, and I say modified only because there were points where it wasn't garter lining up with garter. It was kind of maybe a slip stitch, so it looked more like a knit stitch rather than a garter bump or garter stitch, and I just made it work and it came out fine. The other thing, I did sometimes do a kind of whip stitch, and it really isn't visible. I think the garter portion of it really just hides a lot. So that being said, although I did struggle with the pattern, I think I would make it again. It's a pretty fun little thing to make. I forgot to say, that is for my Shark Week project. So Shark Week started the 20th of July and ends today, the 27th. So today's the last day. If I had only partially finished this chicken and didn't finish it before today, or you know, midnight tonight, then I would have to frog it because I would technically be eaten by the shark. But I did not get eaten. That makes me happy. So Henny Penny is done. Okay, now let's talk about some works in progress. Let's see, we'll talk about my cozy memories first. If I can find the side that I need. This blanket, it's just getting so huge and it's difficult to find where I'm at. Okay, here we are. Found it. Okay, so there is my blanket, and there is the marker from the last time that I showed you 2 weeks ago. You'll notice, let's see, how many squares is that? 6, and I'm starting the 7th. So that's not my normal. I would be showing you 14 squares, and I'm not. And that's for several reasons. If you watched my last episode, you know that I have changed up my morning routine some days, and also some days that I could have knit on this, I was knitting on my chicken instead. I just allowed myself to focus on the chicken and a little bit of life stuff, which I will talk about more later, but I have opted for going to the gym 3 days a week, so that means that I am not working on my blanket. So that's okay. I'm embracing it. I've made progress, and that alone makes me happy. What else makes me happy is that I finally wound up my May Cuddle Bums, and that is what I'm knitting in. So this was May, and this one is also May. So I've got, 31 days to get through, so we'll be seeing May's Cuddle Bums for quite some time. The ones that I have hanging up right there are the June, and July's just arrived yesterday. So since I'm not knitting a square a day, I will have quite a plethora of minis stacking up, and that's okay because they will get knit eventually. All right, the next work in progress I have to show you is the one that up until now I've been really focusing most of my time on, but unfortunately it's taken a little bit of a backseat, and I'm sad about it. This, if I can figure out how to show it to you, is my Marled Magic Blanket by Stephen West. And the last time I showed you, I had finished section 5, and I believe I had just started section 6. So that's as far as I've gotten. I really have not made a lot of progress. But that being said, I did have to do some ripping out as well. So with this section, let's see, what side? No. With this, you are slowly joining section 5 to section 6 along here. And once you get done joining there, the pattern changes. Not really, it's just not including this joining stitch, but the instructions change. So you're going from one block of instructions to another. And right under that block where you're finishing up here, not in a block, so like the text itself is in like a square. Underneath there, there's some other instructions, which I did see and I kind of looked at, but for some reason, I don't know, it just went right over my head and I moved on to the next block of instructions. And I knew immediately that my seed stitch was no longer seed stitch. My knits were lining up with knits, my purls were lining up with purls, and so that I was getting a ribbing, not a seed stitch. And I was certain that the pattern was wrong. I wrote West Knits and I made notes on my project page, and I let some other people know that who were working on it that I'd found a problem, and I was just modifying the pattern. I was just making sure that my knits were over a purl and my purls were over a knit and going on with my life. And then I heard back from West Knits. I can't remember how long it took, maybe a day or two. Luckily, I was not really working on this a whole lot, and they didn't understand that I had missed those bottom directions. They were just like, nope, it works. And, you know, they kind of gave me a little bit more instruction. So the fact that they were very sure that they were right and I was wrong, I went back and looked at the pattern and realized my mistake. So I ripped back, not too far, but I did rip back. And now guess what? Their instructions work just fine. So when you follow all the instructions, it's great. I took all my notes down and let the people know who I had told that I thought there was an error, that nope, it's just me, I'm the error. So anyway, I need to get back to this. I'm enjoying it. I have quite a lot of colors to go. And actually, I think maybe after I'm done editing and uploading, I might work on this because it's calling to me. I'm missing it so much. I'm currently at a portion where I have just quit using the kind of red color that was being held with this. And my next combo will be to add this one. So we'll be going brown and brown. And it's just really fun to do these fades with minis, and you can kind of do some really interesting fades. So I started with green and white, and then I think it was just plain white, and then white with a white and orange speckle, which brought in the orangey red, and the brown that I'm working on kind of has the hints of orangey red. And so yeah, you can just kind of pull out a color that it has, or you could go completely rogue, I suppose. But I'm looking forward to getting some work done on this. All that being said, there's a new cast on that's happening starting Tuesday. But first, before I talk about that, you will know that I have been keeping my Stephen West Marled Magic blanket in my yarn-centric bag that was sent to me by a viewer. And I knew that this blanket was going to outgrow this, which it really has gotten there. So I asked, who makes the largest project bag you have ever seen? And I didn't get a whole lot of comments, but I did get one that was very helpful. Ann Pinkova commented and said that I should go to TJ Maxx and get one of their tote bags. I do wish it kind of had a zip closure, but it's fine. I don't need it. But this tote bag is ginormous, and it does look big there, but what you don't see is that the bottom, well, it's hard to see on here, but the bottom really opens up, and this thing can hold a lot. Like a lot. So that should handle my blanket all the way through to the end, and I'm happy to have found that, and it was very affordable. So if you are in need of a very large project bag, I can encourage you to go to TJ Maxx if you have one. They had this print, but they had all kinds of other really cute ones. They had another one that was more, I think it was a white base or cream base with some lighter colored flowers, and I was really drawn to that, but I opted for this one. All right, so I talked about casting on. This is like the episode of Stephen West because we are about to start the Delectable Collectable Mystery Sock by Stephen, and that's one of those knit-alongs where you get a clue a week for so many weeks, and by the end you're supposed to have a pair of wearable socks. If you followed along with my, what was the one last year called? I'm totally blanking. No, it wasn't Color of Opportunity. Anyway, you know. I can't think of the name of it. But those socks, after I've worn them a time or two, they've gone through the wash, they are not fitting me great. The brioche heel that he uses in there, even though my gauge was tighter and it should be okay, as in better than his version, I still find the heel to really stretch out and really just not be a good fitting sock. So much so that I don't know that I will continue to wear them, which is a big bummer. So this year I'm hoping that the pattern is better. Last year I ended up having to do a lot of ripping out, changing needle sizes just to get the sock to fit. And I can only imagine that we're going to have an interesting construction again this year. So all that to say, I really hope things go smoother, and we'll see how this year's sock goes. If it's another disaster, I may forego the following year, but yeah, I always say that and then I do it anyway, so I don't know. I bought 2 mini packs from Knit Picks. This is the one I think I'm going with. This one is very hard to hold all 5 colors. I should probably move this one because that's hard to see the difference. So it's like, oops. We have a gray tweed, a blue tweed, pink tweed. This one's kind of like a lavender tweed, and then a dark purple. And this is the afternoon tea set. It is in Stroll tweed. And just a note on the bug situation. These came completely sealed in their own little plastic. And I did throw them in the freezer just in case. But I think being completely sealed would have kept them fine. I saw no remnants of bugs whatsoever. But they spent, gosh, 1 to 2 weeks in my freezer. So, you know, it's funny. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I pulled those directly out of the freezer and yarn doesn't freeze. So I expected them to be kind of like popsicles, but they're not wet. So it didn't freeze. The other option I have is this. This is another Stroll set in kind of a red and pink tone. And this one is called Radiant. So both of these sets they had on sale for, was it $11.99 or $12.99? So I just got this one. I figure if I don't make socks out of this one, I can always make a section in my Steve & West blanket or use them for something else. And at that price, I thought, okay, I can get 2. And let's see what else. That is all of the knitting that I've been doing, but it has been tour de fleece. If you haven't seen my videos or you're just not interested in spinning videos, then you probably wouldn't know that I have been participating in tour de fleece this year, but I have been vlogging my way through that. Not only do I talk about spinning, but I scoured and processed a part of a fleece. I turned it, part of it into a combed top and part of it into a bat, and then I spun some of that up. So I'm just going to quickly show you my spinning. I'm not going to go into great detail, but if you would like more detail, go check out those Tour de Fleece videos. Let's see, the first spin that I finished was one that I started last year, Tour de Fleece. This is a combo spin using 3 different braids of fiber, so 3 different colors, and then I plied all 3 of those together. So one color is 1 ply, another color is another ply, and the third color is the last ply. And I think overall it came out pretty cohesive. According to my online calculator, this came out to about a sport weight. I did ply up some leftovers of that, which are pretty close. And the last little bit, I did a chain ply. This is like maybe 5 grams. And a chain ply uses 1 strand of yarn or a single and plies back on itself using something similar to a crochet chain. And it gives you a self-striping yarn. The next thing that I worked on during Tour de Fleece was another old spin. This one here is a fiber by Ashford. It's 80% merino, 20% silk, and it's in the color Sunset. And I struggled with this one. The silk in it makes it harder to spin. I did have a little bit more of a 3-ply, and then this is quite a lot of leftovers of a 2-ply. So this is going into a greater kind of gradient fade spin that I've been working on for years now, like since 2020. I have one color left and it's currently on my wheel, so hopefully I will get this 5-color fade done soon. And the last yarns that I spun during Tour de Fleece are the ones that I talked about where I prepped that fiber, and these are them. I am so enamored with these. Just looking at them, I know they're just like a plain color, but the spinning of it is just so, so pretty. This one here is from the comb top that I made, and it's a 2-ply lace weight, so soft and squishy. I haven't washed these yet, so I don't know how they're going to change. This one I spun long draw out of a bat. This one I spun worsted style, which means I was smoothing down the yarn as I spun out of the bat. And so each of these things changes the yarn just a little bit. And the last one is maybe my favorite. It's the craziest, which isn't my normal kind of personality. I'm very type A, but when you can just let the rules go, it's actually really fun. This I made out of what I'm calling a chaos bat. And it is kind of like a slub yarn, thick and thin. It's got neps. It's all kinds of things. This I spun out of what I was going to throw away. It's the leftovers from my combing, the leftovers from my carding. It had all the neps, the short bits, all the crazy stuff. I created a bat out of it, and I spun this long draw, and I really cannot wait to see what this is like finished or even knit up. I think turning something that would have been trash into something that looks like this, that's just amazing. Like, it's really not a bad yarn. It's just very textured. It's not my normal, but I actually really like it. So Tour de Fleece is wrapping up today, and I should be publishing my final Tour de Fleece video either today or tomorrow. If you want to check that out, I'm going to go over how much yardage I finished, how much grams I spun, all those things. So if you're more curious and want a little more details, go check that out. And let's see, let's talk about some life stuff. Boy, have I had life stuff. I mentioned during the talk about my Cozy Memories blanket that I've been going to the gym, and I mentioned that during the last episode that things were going to be changing for me because I was trying to prioritize my health. And yes, I have been. Let me tell you, I mentioned I knew I was going to be sore. I am so sore today. It's not even funny. My workout that we did on Friday was Romanian deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats, and like a bazillion lunges. So let me just say, when I'm in the seated position, it's fine, but getting up and sitting back down are not the most fun. That being said, I've done 6 workouts now. So I'm going every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 a.m. And it is a bit of a rush. I have to get up right when my alarm goes off, get up. I'm able to have a cup of coffee and knit just a few stitches and read a few pages in my book. So that makes me happy. I'm not getting a square done, but I do get just that little bit of sort of my normal morning routine. And then I fly out the door. I go to the gym, which is so thankfully very close to my house, and it's just been really nice. I really think I forgot how much I enjoyed the group setting. You know, you're not doing the activity with these people, but you're doing it at the same time, and kind of going through something that just maybe isn't the most pleasant with other people is really nice. And also it's just very motivating. You know, I am probably the oldest, the slowest, the weakest person in the room, and nobody makes me feel less for that. Nobody you know, makes fun of me or anything like that. You know, everyone's very supportive. It's just been really good. So it was a change that I needed for sure. And I'm looking forward to continuing that because I will not always be the slowest or the weakest in the room. I probably still will be the oldest though. It's okay. So yeah, that means less knitting time. My second class, so not this Wednesday, but last Wednesday, I did the routine I just explained, got done with my workout, rushed home. I have to be at work about 25 minutes away from where I live by 7 a.m. And so I leave the gym roughly at 6, sometimes just a few minutes after. I get home about 6:10, run for the shower, hurry up, shower, get dressed, and then hurry out the door on my way to work. On Wednesday, I have like a step that goes from my front door to a landing just below. And I was leaving and closing the door behind me. Well, my left foot got half off the step and half on the step, and my ankle rolled and I went crashing to the ground. Let me tell you how long it's been since I have fallen. It's been a very, very long time. The last time I had a skinned knee, a skinned anything, I was probably a child. And let me tell you, it hurts a lot worse when you're 45 going on 46. So my elbow took the brunt of it. I know it doesn't look bad now, but it still actually really hurts. It's not in the movement that it hurts, it's bruised. I think I bruised the bone. So it's amazing how much I use my elbow that I didn't realize. Sitting at my desk, at first just typing with my elbow resting on the desk was really painful. Not so much now, but like I sleep on the right side of the bed, which means my nightstand's right over here. So I constantly prop myself up on this elbow to reach something on the nightstand. And yeah, I really still am struggling to do that because it hurts even pressing into a bed. I did go get x-rays, no breaks, so that was good. Like I said, my range of motion is fine. It's just painful. And then my scuffed knee, which is also bruised, is also quite painful. You forget how much these things hurt when you don't do them all the time, and I'm glad for not doing them all the time. That being said, I still really am happy that I made the choice to go to the gym. I mean, I could have fallen any day. I was just in such a hurry. So now I make a mental note as I'm leaving out the door to make sure I have my footing where it needs to be and just rush a little bit less. That being said, my boss was very good about working with me. If I didn't make it at 7 on the dot, say I made it by 7:10, I would just have to work till 3:10. I just make up the difference. But so far, I have always made it by, before 7 a.m. So it's working out, and I'm happy for that. The other life stuff is I had to go dress shopping yesterday. I have not one, but 2 weddings coming up. Not mine, thank goodness. But I'm going to one of Glenn's family members' weddings actually next weekend, and then another wedding in October. So I needed something to wear, and I think I found some things, but I don't know. I just don't like wearing dresses. I don't like trying on clothes. I don't like any of that. So got it done, but it wasn't my favorite thing. As far as books, I have been reading 2 different books, but I haven't finished anything since I last talked to you. One, because the gym is cutting into my reading time, but also knitting a chicken wasn't really exactly reading kind of knitting, even though it was garter stitch. There was a lot of short rows and counting stitches, and it just was too much for reading at the same time. But I started reading The Crash by Frieda McFadden, and if you have been around here for long, you know I'm a huge Frieda McFadden fan. It's good. I think I'm about halfway. But then one of my Libby library holds that I've been waiting for quite some time came available. So I set aside The Crash because I own it. I can come back to it anytime. And I started reading Nightbane, which is the second book in the series called Lightlark by Aster. And it's a fantasy series, and I don't normally read a lot of fantasy, but I actually really enjoyed Lightlark. I'm now about 50% through Nightbane, and I am still enjoying it, so I do encourage you to read that book. And The Crash was good too. I just haven't gotten far enough to really know too much about what's going on. I think I had some other life stuff to say, but I can't honestly think of what it was. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are getting some crafting time in while you were able to watch and listen, and that you are having a wonderful day. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.